Tai no Henka tonight, but we'll start with some attention to Shizentai and Hanmi and grounding and so forth. So, back to Shizentai. What we do is going to deal a lot with walk, right? This hip complex, hip joint complex, the knee, the ankle, our midfoot, our line of gravity, all the usual talking points of the lower body. Right? So, step one, we want to locate our feet underneath our quad, right? The kind of center of this hip complex, right? The inguinal crease, the socket joint of the hip, right? That's about where we're aligning our feet. Shoulder width, and tension, right? Feet underneath the hips, not underneath the ball and socket joint and the crest of the hip, not underneath the external crest of the hip, underneath the joint, right? Maybe we'll get on the whiteboard, but this is awkward. But like if you turn one foot on its heel, 90 degrees, you should have about the length of a foot between your feet. Some of us have longer or shorter feet, relatively speaking, something like that, right? We want our feet in parallel. Few pointers for that. One is if you just put your heel down and imagine, I'll use the seam to make it more visible, but imagine a line running to your 12 o'clock. You want to almost bisect the foot. It widens toward the front and narrows toward the back. And you almost want to divide its area into two on that line. In my case, and I think in most of our cases, on the average, that's going to place your line between your second and third metatarsals, right? That's your straightforward line over the center line of the foot. When we don't have nice seams in the mat to orient ourselves by, we can kind of try to do that visually, but also it bears repeating. If we're not pulling things into alignment ourselves, right, which creates its own strain, you can feel it. But if we've got fair release in the hips and fair release in the knees and fair release in the ankles, and we just kind of sit into the middle of our foot, if our feet are in parallel, the width between our knees shouldn't dramatically change as we sit into our feet. My feet are splayed, and I relax my legs and sit into my feet. Width increases. This is a gross illustration, right? My feet are canted in, and I don't push my knees out, which we can do. But if I try to relax and sit into my posture, knees come in. Knees are here. Knees are here. So, if I'm good at releasing and not telling myself, well, that's the measure, so that's what I want to happen, right? Then that's one way we can check parallel feet in Shizentai. Okay, moving on a little bit with Shizentai. What we want is our weight in our midfoot, so behind the crest of base knuckles of the toes, in front of the ankle juncture, right? Somewhere in there is where we want our weight distributed. We want it 50-50 between our feet. We're going to keep our feet where they are now. underneath the hips in parallel. So, not out of tension, not at ease, right? Underneath the hips, relatively narrow stance, in parallel, not neutral. Evenly distributed, anchor the tailbone. Let the knees bend. Don't let them bend any further than edge of your toes, right? But let them flexible. We're going to, like I say, anchor the sacrum, anchor the tailbone, lengthen the spine. And in order to aid in keeping our line of gravity over that midfoot latitude, right? Something, meridian. As we sit down, there will be a little bit of a cant in our posture. Right? Now we want to keep a straight spine. Crown suspended, tailbone anchored, spine essentially lengthened and straightened. Doesn't mean vertical, means straight. Right? So in our Shizentai posture, we might have a cant that's edging into 10, 15 degree territory, like Eshaku, casual daily bow territory, like as our neutral posture. Right? We're a little bit ready to receive a tackle or a hug or something, right? So this is the posture, more or less. What I'm going to have us do, let's play with this. We'll start with this spine. I've got some kettlebells over here. Don't worry at all about the weight. The pink ones are light, the yellow ones are the heaviest I've got out here, the blue ones are in the middle. Just let's all grab our kettlebell. Weight doesn't matter, we're not doing resistance training, we're doing form training. If you want to do a little resistance training on the side, nothing here is super heavy, but go ahead and get a heavy one. If you don't care, get a light one, or whatever's closest. Just to give ourselves room to put the kettlebell down for now, go ahead and take a shoulder width stance, right? We'll pick up our kettlebell, right? Feet in parallel. Right? And what we're going to do is we're going to feel our weight evenly distributed, left and right foot, and we're going to feel our weight in our midfoot, right? Not in the toes and balls of the feet, not rocked back on the heels. We're going to squat with our kettlebell, and we're going to keep our line of gravity over the midfoot. That's going to be difficult if we try to keep our spine totally vertical. But we also don't want to punch and round our spine. Right? What we want to do is keep the line of gravity in the midfoot while keeping the spine straight. Right? So, not like this, like this. Right? The center goes straight down. The low part comes back, the high part comes forward, the center of it all comes straight down. So we'll just do a few reps so we get a feel for doing that with our spine. Feel it in your feet. They can be slow. Again, if it's too much like resistance training, go get the pink ones. The weight doesn't matter. I just want this to help you, be enough to help you feel how to keep your spine aligned straight while you sink into this midfoot posture. You can even kind of pause in the middle there, right? So here we are straight. Come down a little bit, right? Again, feel for it. Don't be knees. So now we'll keep that feeling, I'll borrow Larry, right? I'm going to go diagonal. I'm capturing some video just in case it's of any use to us. So I'm going to keep us on a slight bias. I'm capturing some video just in case we find it useful later. So I'll have you come this way. So yeah, height. So I'm in my Shizentai posture, right? Feet are under the hips, in parallel. I'm in both feet, I'm in my midfoot. I'm going to offer up both hands. This is similar to the Kokyu drills we're doing, and we'll break apart and we'll do this in pairs. But what we're going to do is we're going to not so much test integrity as calibrate integrity, right? So sometimes we do these Kokyu exercises and the goal of your partner is to eventually, overpower you, take you out of your square. Maybe we'll get there. Right now what I'd like us to do is find what feels like Shizentai. Lengthen the spine, cant the head, quick sidebar. If there's like a central axis through your head, you want your head slightly tilted forward on that axis. That's going to draw the neck vertebrae up into a straight posture. That's not the same as tipping your head forward on an axis somewhere in the neck. That's going to round the neck vertebrae. We want the vertebrae up and then our head tilted so that the occiput line goes through the crown, right? So that's, anyway. So when I go into this slightly canted position, it's not this, it's this. But anyway, so I'm going to have my partner grab my wrists, right? And just introduce pressure, and we're both going to calibrate. I'm going to try to put his weight and his energy in my feet. And he's just going to help me feel out where I feel like I'm either A, pushing back on him for my postural integrity, right? Or B, if I'm starting to be overtaken by him, right? We're going to feel out together, just looking for, he's going to give me a little energy, and I can tell him, a little more, a little less, right? But just a little more energy, and I'm going to try to put it in my feet. And if I feel, even if I feel myself kind of pushing up, straight up tension in my lower body, probably not an ideal sign. I really want to be able to relax into my feet. There I am rounding my neck. Don't want that. So he'll add a little pressure, and I'll adjust. And this is it. We're really just kind of finding a place where I can be in Shizentai and be relatively resilient to incoming pressure without a lot of tension or counter pressure on my part, right? So let's play with that for a little bit. We'll just go back and forth calibrating our integrity in this narrow, straight, non-braced stance. And again, it's not meant, at least until we get super great at all the internals, this is not meant to be an immovable power stance, right? This is meant to not be, and we're going to try to be relatively immovable in this not so powerful stance. Relatively immovable in this stance that is not architecturally designed to be immovable, right? Like, this would be more architecturally immovable. But we're going to Shizentai, and have our partner help us calibrate so that we find that angle and that bearing in the midfoot. So let's play with that for a few minutes. You? Hey, goes over. So again, feet narrow. Feet under hips, like narrow. Narrower than you think. And more parallel than you think. Yeah. Narrower than you think. Again, not like this is no good, right? But even this is a wide stance. Like right under, if you try to keep, let's just say you're trying to find a center line through the whole leg complex. Obviously the femurs come out from the hip joint and buckle in, and then you got two, bones in the shins and so on and so forth. But if there were a general center line in your legs, you want that practically straight down into the midfoot, right? So this is a little out, this is a little in, something like this, right? And parallel feet. So that's where we're starting. Start from the feet, and then, try to find your released, sturdy posture. And your partner will give you a little more pressure, a little less pressure. Your partner can even, so like if you're the pushing partner, if you can feel a way that guides your energy, short of just doing this, right? But if you can kind of try to push on the Shizentai partner in a way that you can guide this lateral energy into being grounded and help them feel that. Again, that may be more sensitivity than you feel confident you have, but both of you just kind of cooperate on trying to help the Shizentai partner find a grounded Shizentai. Right? Same in your case, you want to draw those feet into parallel. Down the foot. So the toes shouldn't be white knuckling into the mat, but they should be pulling up off the mat. Gaze is pulling your head down. Go ahead and get the neck vertebrae straight with the rest of the spine, and let the whole spine come forward if it needs to. So kind of like when we did the squats with the kettlebells, right? Sacrum comes back, occiput comes forward, but the center of the spine goes straight down. Because when we do this, right, we say keep your gaze neutral out of your eye sockets, right? And if we straighten but can't the spine, right, the gaze starts to go down. If we start to follow our gaze down, we start to round our head, or we start to even let our spine come up and our head come down, and this feels canted. Again, just like with the kettlebell, right? Try to keep the complex together. Occiput through the crown. The head is relatively back. It's tipped forward on this axis, but it's laterally back, right? A little bit. Not crazy far back. Don't constrict your neck, but we're trying to lengthen and straighten these vertebrae just the same way we lengthen and straighten these vertebrae when we anchor the sacrum. Right? We're taking the vertebrae that want to be concave, and we're doing what we can to structurally lengthen and straighten them. Okay. Well, I'm saying definitely the person in Shizentai. Really all of us. Like, there's no reason, like if I'm pushing on you, it doesn't destroy the exercise for me to be rounded out. But I mean, while I'm here, right, might as well try to be grounded. Then it's less important for me. But if you're trying to do Shizentai again, feet under hips, feet in parallel, right, and you want your spine lengthened. You can have this cant, but not this bend. Right? free to let that cant be, just like our feet are narrower than we think we feel they ought to be. That cant in your straight spine can be closer to like a casual bow cant than you're inclined to make it just standing there, right? It can be a little more quote unquote forward, but your line of gravity is still going to be centered, midfoot, 50-50. And then just take the tension out of the calves and thighs and glutes and hips. So the cant doesn't come from the cervical vertebrae, it's the whole spinal column. Call that a period signal. So back to Shizentai. Feet under the hips, and every time we go ahead and stand up, play with me, right? So feet under the hips. Every time we do this, until we really, really get it, in our marrow, go ahead and check yourself. We're going to want to come, 3 inches out, right? We're going to want our feet under like the extremity of the femur or something, right? We want them under that center line of the legs. It's a pretty narrow stance, right? And for Shizentai, again, feet in parallel. We're going to want, most of us, we spend a lot of time sitting down. We've got some kind of torsional unevenness in our muscle tone. I think if we took a survey, probably most of our incoming crowd would feel like the line on the arch in parallel feels more naturally parallel, right? This slight splay. But we're looking for, just like we want the centered line of the whole leg construct, we want the centered line of the foot in parallel. So, anyway, we're going to move a little past Shizentai, but Shizentai is the basis for our Hanmi, and our Hanmi is going to be the basis for, where we're going next. So, again, it's a narrower stance than you think it is, and your feet are going to be what feels, for a while, like kind of pigeon-toed, right? When in fact, the mass, the area of the feet is in parallel. So, from Shizentai, we're going to take, you pick it, let's say left foot. We're going to rotate it on the heel to the 45-degree line, right? So previously we were zeroed here, both of our feet were in parallel. Now we're going to zero ourselves to the foot we just stepped out on, right? This is Hanmi, right? This is what we're looking for in Hanmi. When we do Taido Henka, which we're going to try to do tonight, when we do Kihon Waza, which Taido Henka is basically the first Kihon Waza that we introduce, we're going to start in Hanmi. Talk about Hanmi a little bit. Half body, right? It's a half stance. It's not like Shizentai, which is squared. This is an offensive stance. This is a more offensive stance. But in general, squared is an offensive stance, right? All of my weapons are equidistant, right? I'm better able to align that spine the way we just did with the kettlebell exercises without twisting it, right? Not so defensive. All my vitals are out. I'm not braced to avoid losing ground, right? This is a more defensive stance, right? Vital, target area is narrow, vitals are pulled away, maximum reach of at least one weapon, to keep between you and my vitals, right? weapons are not out of the equation, but they've got to make up a lot of ground to get pulled in, right? Not offensive, right? So Hanmi, we're not exactly trying to min-max. We're not exactly trying to optimize for offense and defense. What we're trying to be is not committed to anything in particular, right? So if I take my Shizentai and I move into my Hanmi, right? From the front, I'm not on this braced tightrope where I'm really resilient this way and under-resilient this way. Also from the front, I'm not braced laterally well and, easy to move this way. If we pay attention to it, from my 12 o'clock, you can see daylight between my feet. From my 3 o'clock, 6 o'clock, 9 o'clock, you can see daylight between my feet. Not this guy, right? This guy. Here we start just like with Shizentai. 50-50 weight distribution, cant toward where we're zero. We're zeroed toward where our lead foot is pointing. Right? This is our ready posture. What it is it's not committed to doing anything in particular. It's half this, half that, Hanmi. Right? Because we might do anything in particular. We might be pushed, we might be pulled, we might be struck, we might be grabbed, right? So our ready stance is not presupposing bracing or presupposing grappling, right? It's just a ready stance, right? Just like Shizentai, 50-50 weight distribution, and we want our hips in our feet, right? Same thing, that straight spine, our cant is on our zero line, right? This is Hanmi. Again, just spend some time in it. Feel for 50-50 in the legs. Feel for not being in either heel, not being in either ball or toe, not being on either, blade of the foot, being in both mid-feet. And I won't do it, but we could. Maybe I'm gonna keep looking at the light ones. I won't. But we could do like kettlebell exercises from here. Put the kettlebell down in the middle of your posture, right? Keep the spine straight, but the center line, above the center of the base, right? So the rear part of the spine might come back, and the top, this is too deep, but it's to illustrate a point. Top part of the spine comes forward, rear part of the spine moves back, right? Center of the spine, vertical, right? So not straight like this, straight like this. Hanmi. So, real quick, check your Shizentai, right? Under the hips, feet in parallel. Leave your heels exactly where they are. Rotate out on the right, 45 degrees. Leave your feet where they are. Zero to your new lead foot. Sit down 50-50 in both mid-feet. Spine is straight and canted on your zero line. Probably less deep than that. Play with it, but probably not that deep. Rule of thumb again, just like Shizentai. Whether you're forward or backward or 50-50, unless you're going down to Shiko or doing something special, knees probably not projected farther than the front of your toes. Your knees are here. There you go. And you keep your spine straight. And you keep your weight centered. This is probably about as much cant as your structure can stand. Right? This is probably good. And we'll have to borrow Christina, because here's where we're lurching for either of us, right? But we're just helping our partner find zero toward them, rounded in both feet. Let's play with that for a minute. So, and this will be the pain, right? Because everybody knows, like, this isn't Hanmi, right? But this isn't Hanmi either. This isn't Hanmi either, right? Find your Shizentai, just like we said with Shizentai. Same thing with Hanmi. It's narrower than you think it is, right? And again, part of the reason is, this is bad at bracing. We're not trying to brace. We're actually trying to develop some internals. It's also, even if you purely look at it from an external standpoint, this isn't too trained on any next step objective. This is just, could be anything. Could go any direction, could, yeah. So find your Hanmi based on your Shizentai, right? And then your partner, so if Christina's at Hanmi, this is her lead foot, so I'm her partner. She's zeroed on this line. That's her lead foot. This is where her attention is. I'm going back that direction. She's zeroed to her 12 o'clock. I'm introducing the energy in the direction of her 6 o'clock. And her 12 and her 6 are based on her lead foot's orientation. So, again, we're not getting a lot of energy, right? So this isn't like if we do this sometimes, we will start pretty soon giving some energy here, but just create a dynamic tension, right? And then let your partner put that dynamic tension down in both feet evenly, in the midfoot, not the ball, not the toe, not the heel, not the leg, right? So you can, just like, matter of fact, loosen this hand up, see if this helps you. Just pretend you got like a 5-pound kettlebell mat, right? You're putting that down, right? See what I do when I do this? My sacrum goes back, my crown goes forward, my whole spine complex goes down, right? Like what we just did. This is how I ground that in. Right. Try that out. Maybe we should do that. Well, we won't do it tonight. We'll do simultaneous kettlebell and Kokyu drill. Mind the head, looking better, but keep it part of the whole straight spine complex. So this is your lead foot, so you're going to be focused, zeroed on your lead. That's where your energy is. We're not doing the Kokyu rebound tonight at this moment. We're doing down to the feet, right? We're too high. We're not worried about keeping our arms straight. We're not worried about, keeping Uke out. Because Uke is only giving us a little bit of energy. It's just to help us find the ground path. We're just creating enough dynamic tension that we can find that 50-50 midfoot under load. If the pressure increases, part of what you want to do is, on your zero, cant that straight spine. Let both hips down. all done this one before. Here's my Hanmi. I'm 50-50 in it. I'm zeroed with my lead foot. I'll have Larry come introduce pressure. Now he's going to introduce more pressure this time, like he's actually trying to displace me. Now, same thing as those Kokyu drills, as he introduces more and more pressure, I'm going to put it down in the rear foot, right? I'm keeping my spine straight as I go down. I'm keeping my knee and quad aligned with my foot. I'm not going lower than about where my knee hits my toe line, but I'm putting it down in this foot, the rear foot, right? And I'm looking for whatever spinal cant, whatever bend, whatever quad alignment keeps my center of gravity in that midfoot, right? We're not going to worry so much about, unbending arm, right? We're going to worry about energy comes in, I'm down in the midfoot, I'm difficult to move, right? If I'm difficult to move, I don't mean, bracing so that if Larry lets go, right? That's not what we're looking for. This comes in, I'm down in the midfoot, right? If Larry suddenly lets go, sturdy, right? So we've done a lot of this one, spend a few minutes with it, but just real quick, what I'd like is everybody, I'm doing it to remind myself, but while I'm reminding myself, let me remind you, recalibrate the Shizentai every time until Hanmi's in our palms, right? Again, just like Shizentai, really about a foot length between heels, pretty much it. It's a relatively narrow stance. So, I'm zeroed forward, I'm 50-50, but as Christina introduces the energy, I'm going down in the rear midfoot. And again, pay attention to what I mean by zero, right? My lead foot is establishing like a 12 o'clock line to Christina. When my spine does this thing I keep pantomiming all night, right? It's going to go on that line. Sacrum to my 6, crown to my 12, center to my rear midfoot now. Right. Play with that. Right. Goes. So because we're going to a 45, it's interesting, but like if our partner's over here and we're trying to establish it from Shizentai, we want our Shizentai to start on a 45 so that we just snap right into it. Yeah. So just like doing squats, we're not so worried about our butt going past our heels, or our nose coming too far forward. We want the center mass to be down in the midfoot. Now, we are a little worried about how far our knee extends when we go down. When we're in our rear foot, that knee is going to flex, the front knee is going to straighten out because it's no longer under load. But when we let this knee flex just to the toe line, hang out there. Good. And when you're doing your squat under load, your spinal cant is aligned with the direction of that foot and knee. Because they're on the same line. That's the next thing. If you focus on, I'm going to talk and you keep working. If you focus on keeping your knee line above your foot's center line, it's going to keep you out of your arches and out of your blade of your foot. Likewise, if you focus on staying out of your arches and staying out of the blade of the foot, it's going to keep your knee from caving in or buckling out. So they're associated issues. Again, for this exercise, if you're okay, go ahead and progressively increase the load, right? Because where we're going next anyway is, and we might as well, so I'll borrow Larry, right? Something like this. Oh, that's I don't like that. I'll have it here. So, I've got my Hanmi, I'm zeroed on the south wall, right? Larry's going to come in and push, right? I'm putting it down in my rear foot. Sacrum is going 6 o'clock, crown is going 12 o'clock, up to a point, right? Center mass is loaded in the midfoot. Now Larry's going to keep adding pressure and keep adding pressure and keep adding pressure. And I can release a little in the arm because we're not working with that so much right now, but I don't want to get pinned, right? I don't want to get trapped. So at some point, if and when I feel that the pressure is getting too much for me, just like we found our Hanmi in reverse. We found Shizentai. We rotated out 45 with the whole ankle, knee, quad complex. We're going to keep our structure. So we're not pulling uke. I'll show you, right? We're not pulling uke. We're not crossing our body. Right? Push, right? We're not crossing our body. Right? We're not buckling. We're not twisting, right? Same thing I tell you with this exercise. We're going down here, we're not twisting, right? All we're doing is what we did. We were in Shizentai, we're in Hanmi. Watch how the quad, knee, ankle all align. Watch how the body aligns. This is Tai Sabaki. Right? Under load, in the rear leg, we're going to be able to move our front leg. When the load gets great, that's it. Right? Partner is going to introduce pressure. We'll go ahead. At first, it's the exercise we just did. Put it down in the rear leg. Partner is going to keep introducing pressure. And when we feel like we're going to buckle or fall over backward or lose our structure, we're going to keep our weight in the rear leg and pivot the front foot 45 while keeping our structure. Try that. Thank you. This is the beginning of Tai no Henka. So yeah, first things first. She's just going to push into you. You're going to put it all down in the rear leg. Just all down in the rear leg. Yeah. Well, again, knee no farther than toe line, but the first part is just the exercise we just did. Pressure comes in, rear leg. The difference is she's going to keep adding pressure, and when you feel that pressure is more than you can just ground, you just, so it's not from the waist, it's not from the arms. We're closing this quad, right? So taking my whole upper body out of it, that pressure is down in this foot. This is what I'm doing. I'm grounded here, I'm moving this, right? Now, when I move this, right, so that, it's in the quad, it's in the front leg. Your weight is in the back leg, but this motion is entirely or chiefly to do with your front leg closing that 45. Just like, again, like Shizentai to Hanmi in reverse. And that's what happens to me, right? And uke, feel free to come in hot at a certain point, right? Naga is grounding really well, just shove him. quick, I'm gonna fine tune it. It is a pivot on the heel. We're in this leg. So, you know, in theory, this one doesn't matter, right? This is not structurally important, in theory. We'll get there. But down in this is rotating on the heel. We're not picking it up and like posting it up, making it part of the structure. We're just bringing it back to Shizentai. And you can sit it both at that point if you want, but in here so that you can move this. Good. And then while you do that, just focus on keeping your shoulders aligned with your hips and legs so that you pretty much snap to Shizentai more than a little rotation. Try it. Again, be resilient to Uke's pressure in the first place. We're not exactly bracing, but we are zeroing our spine line toward them. And then when we shut that quad, we're off at 45. Time-wise, I don't think we're going to add another step tonight to this, but let's just intensify what we're working on slightly, right? So, I'll borrow Christina. If you're not going to be zeroed with your lead foot, that spine cant is on this line, right? More than between your feet, right? Spine cant is focused on Uke. What I'd like us to do is two things. One, Uke, once you feel that Naga is well grounded, really just pour on the gas. Give them hard energy in, right? Two, if you're Naga, when you snap shut to Shizentai, give it a little outward spiral, right? I'm here, I'm thumb up, right? She's pushing, I'm canting, I'm putting it all in the rear leg. She can feel that, there we go, right? Again, it's hard to do when we're under pressure and snapping shut and we feel that acceleration and we're doing something with our arm, but not pulling, right? This becomes this, right? Play with it a little bit, yeah. I'll let you go a minute over if you like to, but play with it that way. Uke, give Nage a lot of juice. Nage, just put a little spiral rotation in that arm. Not pulling, not doing big arm movements from the shoulder, just rotation. A lot of juice. There we go. We'll give Larry two. That's the bell, but we'll keep it even. spine stability. Right. Okay. So we'll build on that. This is the Tai Sabaki in Tai no Henka. Right. So we talk about Tai Sabaki, and the go-to shorthand is always footwork, right? This is footwork. There's no body organization. We talk about having a grounded foot and a moving foot, and a grounded foot and a moving foot, right? So this is beginning to put those principles into Tai no Henka. Same time. Tai Sabaki, whole body is organized as we move. Tai no Henka. As our organized body moves, Uke's connected body moves. So we'll get into, that motion we all know and love. We're just going to get into it from a deeper, more grounded, more body aligned perspective. So, okay. Reflections, questions?
It just seems like whenever I'm in Hanmi, I'm grounding in my back foot, not in both.
When you're just by yourself in Hanmi? Don't do that. So, well, and I mean, just like, if you were just standing, right, and you were noticing that you had more weight in your right foot, right? What do? You adjust to your left foot.
Right.
Same thing. It's a weirder shape than just standing, right? But what it means is the line of gravity, right, the perpendicular axis from your center of gravity, is back, right? So if we keep the line of gravity where it is and can't more or less, it won't matter at all, right? But just bring your line of gravity forward, right? So that's probably going to mean just work from the feet up. The feet are where they are, right? So go up a joint in the knees. You probably got more flex in your back foot, and by definition you do, right? That's that young loading, right? Where the knee comes forward over the toe line. Bring the back knee a little off the toe line. Bring the front knee a little off the ankle line toward the toe line, right? Start there. That might be everything. If it's not, bring the hips forward, right? Just work from the bottom joints up until the center line feels like it's between the feet and in the feet. But probably, right? You're in your Shizentai. Matter of fact,